Hello, and welcome to Desert Star Chats, the show where we explore topics of mental health, substance use, and recovery from the heart of the Arizona desert. I'm your host, Nicole Velasco, and in each episode, we embark on a journey through difficult, confusing, or misunderstood topics in the mental health and recovery field. So please join me as I chat with professionals and we dive into the complex subjects, ask the difficult questions, and make these topics accessible to everyone. If you are someone seeking insights into mental health, recovery, substance use treatment, or hoping to support a friend or family member, Desert Star Chats is your go-to resource. So get ready for insightful, delightful conversations and discussions. This is Desert Star Chats. All right. So today we are here with Stephanie, who is a clinician at Desert Star. Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. It is an honor to sit down and have a chat with you today. So like I said, you're a clinician at Desert Star. How long have you been with us?
Oh my gosh, I've been with you guys for a little over a year now.
Yes, very
Mhm.
cool. And how did you wind up with Desert Star?
I was looking to stretch my horizons from inpatient and try what outpatient would look like and feel like. And you guys just had a nice holistic approach to things that really spoke to my heart.
Yeah, definitely a change of
Yeah.
pace from inpatient.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you
And you
end up?
guys,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And you guys also offered, which was a little bit unique at that time. I think it's more commonplace now, but you guys had online and
Yeah.
offered a lot of Zoom opportunities. And that was a learning curve for me because I was used to in person and charting or electronic data that way. And it was cool to take it online, which was a new experience for me. So that was really neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you end up in the mental health field?
I started out in the fitness and wellness industry. And
Okay.
I always thought about psychology. I always thought I was always a Jungian fan, the Zig Ziglar person,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, self-empowerment, all that stuff since I was
Yeah.
young. But I always thought you had to be like this research scientist and, I'm like squirrel, I was like that. I don't think I can do like data research and, go work in a lab. And that's kind of what I was my impression initially. And I had always worked in fitness. And when I was doing massage, which is my second longtime career, I would notice that I could work on someone's body and get them to a really good place physically, but something just kept holding them back. And when I ruled out all the breath or postural or habitual things, I started noticing that it was the mind holding them back, or the way they were thinking about things, or their habits, start with how we think. And so it led me into incorporating um, yoga. And then after yoga, it was like, well, the only other avenue I've yet to really study and explore was brain science and interpersonal neurobiology and somatics were really just starting to get a foothold back at that time. And I thought, that sounded so interesting to me and just got me all my cells excited. And I thought, well, let me look into that. And of course, what we know now that there's a mind body connection, that they're not separate from each other. They actually pattern in the same way. Um, so I went back to school, and now my life goal is to incorporate both worlds into the session. And that's kind of how I gauge things moving forward these days.
And so when you say you felt something was holding them back, what do you mean by that?
So like the way someone would, if someone's not feeling secure, they're gonna crouch, or they're gonna hide, or they're gonna pull away, or just even just in subtle postural manners, can say a lot about how a person feels, thinks, or believes. And it lends itself to that nonverbal language. And I would notice that even though I'd get their shoulders relaxed, when they'd go back to work, they were feeling defensive, and this is their position, or they'd be, we'd get ergonomically, or get your chair lower or your chair higher so you can drop your shoulders down, or this or that. They'd still have that one colleague in the next queue over that was always nagging on them. So they'd always have this, and it would, until they started to feel a little bit more empowerment, then they could feel safer to let, their vulnerable spots be shown. It kind of started to come together that way as I learned more about mind, body, and how it was reflecting in the body. And then I would ask, what is your belief around this, that, or the other? And lo and behold, there would be a defensive mechanism going on, or a fear thing, or interest in this, but not that. And that lended itself to the way they would habitually move in their day-to-day life.
That is so interesting. So when you were doing a massage, you could get them to relax kind of temporarily in that situation with you. But then because that mental block was still there, as soon as they were back in that environment, everything would go exactly back to the way it was. So they never made progress.
Right.
That is
Or
so
it would just be
interesting.
a repetitive cycle of,
Right.
okay, we got it better, then okay, it's back again. What is going on? And then further inquiry would reveal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wonder what we can do about that, and so I would talk to people in the psychological field and the social sciences, and they're like, well, there's these negative beliefs we have about ourselves or other people or places and things, and I'm like, hence Stephanie went to school. She went
Very
back to
cool.
school. Yeah.
Have you always been in kind of a helping profession? That's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, it was geared towards helping in fitness and recovery, with rehabilitation and training. And then it was coupled with the entertainment industry too. So I loved journalism and television and stories and documentaries. And I was an avid shutterbug back in the day, and film fan of films and music, and kind of went into that realm for a long time, and until becoming a mom became my first priority. And in motion pictures, it's usually if you're lucky, it's a 12-hour day.
Right.
It's usually 14 to 17 if you're on location a lot of times. I mean, time might be changed now with everything being digital, and a lot of stuff is done in post-production. But at the time, I was still doing a lot of video and film, and it was all, you capture it in that time and, give the editor something to work with. So now it's all CGI, and that was just starting to come out when I was in that industry. But yeah, and then I jumped back into, with massage and body therapies, and then yoga. Yeah. And it just kind of, but it was always in the back part of my mind that I really love. I was always such a fan of psychology and the why, and what shapes us, and why do we do what we do, and what's genetic versus what's environmental. And that was always a huge thing in my front part of my consciousness. So
Yeah. How would you say your kind of previous life experience influences how you approach your treatment for your clients?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I think I'm evolving. I think each season, I notice more and more shifts. I'm a young therapist, as they would say. I've only been in the field in the last 8 years now, 6 to 8 years, and I am always learning something new. I think because of my entertainment background and my wellness and fitness background, I want things to be felt, make sense, make sure they're relatable, and absolutely want to give them an experience that they want to keep coming back for. Right. Yeah. As was it Maya Angelou always says, they may not remember what you say, but they will absolutely always remember how you make a person feel, how they feel when you leave. And I always I want people to feel good. I don't want people to be more stressed out. I want them to feel better.
Yeah. Do you find that Some people feel relaxation through the body before the mind before the body, or is it a good mix of both?
Maybe a mix of both. I think it depends on where a person's at in that particular session. It's I try to there, I'd love to think that there's a cookie cutter, formula, but there
Sure.
really isn't. I think we have like things we can do, the staples, right? But have that presence of mind. So like, all right, well, where are they at right now though? Did they just come off 3 buses to get to me? Or did they just fly in from Zurich? Like are
Right.
they were they sitting out in the lobby for an hour? Were they, have they been, did they just come from an aerobics class or a yoga class or from school? Were they fighting with their sibling or a family member? Are they sober right now, or are they, did they just come from a business lunch and happy hour? So I try to figure out where they're at and what would they want to, what would they like from today's session? What do they want to experience? What are they trying to get out of it today? you
Yeah. Yeah, environment plays a big role in how you show up
Mhm.
mentally,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
therapy and to even your job, to anything.
Yep. Yeah. And if,
Um,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and just thinking about some patients recently, like there's a lot of like physical limitations too. Like if somebody
Mhm.
has injuries or there's a excuse me, they've got a chronic injury or disability that is acting up, that can also change what the intention of what that person or patient wants in a session to what we end up doing, you know. So that plays in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What most excites you about the mental health field when you're looking towards the future?
Oh gosh, oh, there's so much. Me personally, I'm an integrative practitioner. I always have been, even when I was back in my aerobics days and personal trainer days. I loved integrating. Back then, it was just cardio or just weights, or it was indoors, not outdoors. And I started doing a fusion, which we all call now like fit or 45, whatever they call it, T45 or whatever it is. Do a lot of that. Or boot camp type stuff. I was doing that early on before it became like a thing. And I take that passion with me because neuroscience is so cool. Like our brains are just, oh man, it's uncharted territory. You know what I mean? It's just too
Yes.
cool. So cool. And I take everything back to the biology level, gross anatomy, and then I take it to, the energy. And, I have a experience in the Middle Eastern and Far Eastern modalities and body work as well. So it goes into energy and chi and the different channels and meridians and how that can apply in our psyche and how that affects us, in a more holistic manner. And there's more of an understanding and openness than there has ever been in the field, both medically as well as in the social sciences. So that's been really exciting to see a merging of the two worlds. And it's not uncommon now to see someone with an aerobic certification and background, or a massage background, or reflexology, or some other Reiki, that are coming into these uh, psychology practices nowadays. And that's so exciting because they're the two worlds that I just adore, and
Yeah,
bringing it together is so beautiful.
absolutely.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, this profession can be very demanding emotionally. What do you do to take care of yourself? What's your self-care routine look like?
That is a really good question. It is, I think, paramount to the longevity and the high quality of care as a clinician that I bring out to the patients and to my coworkers and to the environment in
Yeah,
which I work.
absolutely.
Yeah, I try to get the good, the basics. I try to sleep at a regular time each night and
Yep.
every morning. I know, with the holidays, I'm like, well, that kind of got taken out the window. But
Yes.
try to stay consistent with that. I try to move on a regular basis. I try to change my direction with my spine to 6 directions of movement with my spine daily. Try to stay flexible, keep my strength up, Try to eat healthy, all the classics of, have at least 3 colors on my plate and
There
drink
you
a lot of
go.
water. Yeah, all the classics, all the basics. But I also am a huge believer and practicer, student of lineage. And I have a therapist who has a therapist who has a therapist. I also have mentors that I am constantly upgrading and reviewing with around what I do, how I do it, how that affects my clientele or my patients, and then how that affects me. Um, Anything we can do, I'm always reviewing that way. I always feel like there's more to learn, but I also like to review what I have learned and what I haven't maybe, thought about or explored in recent days. Cause there's like trends in our field. Like we'll get clients that have certain things that they struggle with, and it's like, and then 10 more come in like that. And then you'll get something that you hadn't seen in months, and then it'll come back, and
Sure.
so I like to stay refreshed with that as well. We do continuing education. But I'm also learning that downtime and just being comfortable with stillness and peace and quiet is also very important. So just keeping a balance, I think, is keeping me fit that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Are there any big misconceptions that you would like to change in the future about the mental health field or mental health care in general?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow. Well, um, do you have any misconceptions particularly in mind that you're thinking about?
I guess there's a general stigma towards admitting mental health. For me, particularly, my background is military. And while they say that, mental health is important,
Mm.
um, they will say that, but the action is, you know, deal with it. Life is hard, you know, tough
Right,
knocks, don't say anything,
right.
that kind of vibe. Um,
Yeah.
so something kind of along that line.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more. It's hard to say because I'd like to see it not be so much of a business and go back to a wellness-based model of care, not a disease-based model of care, um, for the social sciences. But I don't think that is realistic when it comes to efficiency, quality of care and training, and the equipment that is now in our field that we didn't have to think about, even 15 years ago. We have VR now, which is that virtual reality. There's the way we gather our health records and hold on to data is, and then the way we market. I mean, so it's a nice thought, but I feel like I think that would help, keeping it not becoming too much money minded, but more, help minded, in that consent. But then, as far as it's the stigma of, just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, I do think though that there is that is already changing. I even think with the military, it's starting to turn as well. It just, it takes a lot longer with all the paperwork they like us to do.
It does. It
you know,
does.
it's on some pile in someone's back office,
Right?
still,
They'll get
waiting
to
to be
it.
signed
Don't
and
worry.
stamped. It's coming. Yeah, 200 emails back.
Yep.
But yeah, I think there is a shifting. I see, working at both Desert Star and having been at these larger facilities with inpatient in the hospitals I've given care at. Um, there is a lot more opportunity with people's health plans, that they are open to it now, where they're keeping things a little bit more hush hush, that they're seeing the benefits, and that they are starting to understand the productivity value of people doing more self-care. I also think the pandemic has shifted things as well, that
Yes.
there's so much more in-home office and work from home. has really opened up flexibility that way, which I think Desert Star was like, miles ahead of a lot of other companies that way, as far as offering an online, multiple online programs that were, diverse, and still the quality is there, the programming is still there, and which was what attracted me to work there. And I see a lot of retention in our clientele because of that, or they come back because they really just, they get something out of it, that they don't get at other places.
Yeah.
Or they go deeper, and we have the depth in our programs, that in curriculum that allow them to go deeper, which other places, like, it's cookie cutter. And I just love that about us, that we can do that and take them deeper, when they're ready.
Yes. And the
Yeah, hopefully
governor
that answered
signing,
your, yeah,
yeah,
hopefully that answered your
yeah.
question.
And the, governor mandating that telehealth be covered, I think was such an incredible step forward, that's covered at the same rate as an in-person session, and
Yeah,
really equalizing those and validating telehealth as a therapeutic approach, I think has just been wonderful.
yeah, yeah.
What would you say to someone who maybe might be considering starting therapy or dipping their toes into a mental health, I don't know, adventure, but it's not quite there yet?
Well, I would say to do some research. Don't go with just the first person you meet, or the first business that you are offered. Um, well, I should be politically correct in saying that check with your insurance plan first. Make sure
There
you
you go. Yeah.
covered our insurance company, because that alleviates a lot of extra or double work for
Yes.
everybody, especially the person looking for the work for help. Take advantage of your EAP. Those are amazing programs on both sides. It helps the clinician, it helps the company, and it helps the client. I think they're amazing, and I see more and more of that, and that's exciting. But I always tell my patients and my clients to, you want to get with someone who you feel comfortable with, you feel safe with, that resonates with your ideals and your beliefs, that you feel heard and seen and understood by. And if you're not getting that, to make sure that it's okay to say, I want that. I have a right to feel that, because I don't think it, no matter how fancy the therapy is, if you don't have those basic factors, it's going to be counterproductive.
Yes. Yes. And for anybody at home, EAP stands for Employee Assistance Program. You guys can check with your HR director at work. A lot of companies have this, whether they widely advertise it or not. It's usually a benefit of your work policy, and they will cover your mental health services. Sometimes there is a cap, say like 6 sessions, but that'll at least get you to dip your toe in. It's usually covered at 100%. Another great resource is psychologytoday.com. You can go in there, you can plug in your insurance policy, your zip code, and it will give you recommendations based on how close the provider is to you. And it will also let you know if the provider is taking new patients or not, which is very helpful when you're doing your initial research. The other thing I would say is if you're looking, when you're doing appointments with your therapist, the first session is kind of to feel that therapist out, right? If you're not vibing with that therapist, it is okay to say thank you for this session and then find a new therapist. You are not stuck with that therapist. There's no long-term contract. You can do one session and move on, and that's totally fine. There will be no hard feelings.
Yeah. And just to add to that, that first session, as much as we give you guys a bunch of paperwork to fill out and all
Yes,
these
every
questions,
time.
and there's assessments, and there's like, you just get thrown so much. And I know in the private practice field, I get people a stack. I'm like, okay, here's your homework.
Yeah,
Or try to
yeah.
get it before you get in there. You're there to interview us as well.
Yes.
So feel free to ask questions about our background, our training, our beliefs. What do we like to do for fun? What is what does life look like for us? Because you want to really, like you said, to get a feel for that person, and there might be something that it just doesn't work, or something that does work, or you get started and you're going to find out that maybe their beliefs are interfering with what your beliefs are, and that's a huge piece. So
Mhm.
please interview us and test us out, because if anybody's getting upset or gets defensive that you're talking to, as a potential therapy relationship, that's a flag,
Yes.
because
Yes.
you we should be very transparent. I mean, the relationship of therapy is built on trust, and we are
Completely.
there to help you have a corrective emotional experience, and we're there to guide you through probably some of the more difficult and challenging, darkest things. And you want to make sure you've got someone that's going to help. You're going to feel good about walking with you through that. So you
Yeah.
can't stress that enough.
They call doing it the work for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Anything else that you would like a potential client to know about you?
Oh my gosh. I am just a goofy, fun life adventurer, and you can find me out paddleboarding when it's warmer, a little bit warmer.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that I'm, I love this field, and I think it's exciting that we're doing the podcast, and I just want to commend anyone who's watching this, who's contemplating taking that leap of faith and doing something for themselves. That it's one of the best investments you can do for yourself, and that those who love you, to heal and go for it.
Awesome. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Alrighty.
Okay, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, true romance.
Okay, what's your favorite dessert?
Mochi. All
What
the flavors.
is what's a hidden talent that you have?
I can sing with my eyes closed upside down and stay in tune.
I love that. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, time travel.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with me today, Stephanie. It was a wonderful conversation, and we will absolutely have you back on.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. You guys take it easy. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Desert Star Chats. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a like and a review or sharing with a friend. If you have questions for a future episode, please send them to information@desertstararc.com. If you're interested in learning more about our programs or services, you can visit our website at www.desertstararc.com or by giving us a phone call at 520-638-6000. We offer services for adults, meaning 18 and above, residing in the state of Arizona and seeking support for mental health struggles, substance use, unhealthy relationships, and for young adults who are struggling to transition into adulthood. We are in network with most major insurance companies, and we do offer payment plans. So give us a call and we are happy to provide a cost estimate for you. We offer services both in person and via telehealth, which means from the comfort of your own home. So there are options for everyone. Again, that number is 520-638-6000. And I hope to catch you on our next episode. Thanks so much. Bye.